Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Firstly, just a couple of housekeeping things. We do have restrooms right by the front door. We have 2 of them. If you need to use them, just get up and use them. My name is Bob Berg. I'm the chair of the Sumter Democratic Executive Committee, and I want to especially thank all of you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us this evening for this wonderful meet and greet with Adam Hattersley, who's running for Chief Financial Officer. So just a second or 2 introduction about him. Born in Massachusetts, was a distinguished scholar at University of Michigan. Got both an undergraduate and a master's in aerospace engineering. He was in the Navy and served on a nuclear submarine, served in the Iraq War and was awarded the Bronze Star, and is married and is an author and a small businessman. So, and he's also a former state legislator. So quite an impressive career, and makes me want to redo some things in my life. Like, what have I been up to? It's like, not much. Anyway, so I know you didn't come to listen to me, so let's turn it over to Adam Hattersley, and then we'll have him speak and have some questions and answers afterwards. Adam.
Thank you. There we go. Thank you. Appreciate it, Bob. Good evening, everybody. Hopefully you can all hear me.
Yes.
My name is Adam Hattersley. I'm your Democratic nominee statewide to be the next Chief Financial Officer of the state of Florida. Who knows what the CFO does? That's what I thought.
Bad things.
Huh?
Right now they're doing bad
things. Right now they're doing bad things. So everybody knows what the Attorney General does, right? They're supposed to be the people's lawyer. Thanks to Nikki Fried, and everybody knows what the Agricultural Commissioner does. It's kind of right there in the name. The CFO, it's literally everything else. It's the head of the Office of Insurance Regulation. It's the state treasurer. It's on the State Board of Administration, so for your pensions. It's on the State Clemency Board. It's the State Fire Marshal, strangely enough. It's the head of the Division of Cemeteries. All the really super sexy jobs, right? And you can laugh a little bit more. It's okay. But even though they're not the really exciting roles, they do affect your lives on a day-to-day basis far more than any of the other statewide cabinet positions. And we'll get back to that. I'm going to elaborate on my background a little bit. Bob did a good job, did most of the whole spiel. But yeah, I went to the University of Michigan. Do we have any Wolverines?
No, we have people from Ohio.
That's painful. You look at my staff back there with the amazing blue shirts. That's why we picked those colors. I had for 4 years. But yeah, as Bob said, I have a bachelor's and master's degrees in aerospace engineering. So technically, I am a rocket scientist. And even though the CFO role doesn't officially take a rocket scientist, it never hurts to have one when I need one. And after I finished grad school, I joined the United States Navy. I was commissioned about 3 weeks before September 11th. And it's about a year and a half of nuclear power and submarine training before I got to my ship, the USS Columbus, unfortunately. Based out of Pearl Harbor. It's the LA-class fast attack submarine. I did a deployment to the Western Pacific. Actually, the very first underway I was on the ship, another boat from my squadron fired the first missiles of the 2003 Gulf War. So another one was Forrest Gump moments, close to history. After my time on the ship, I forgot what Navy stands for. Anybody? Never again volunteer yourself? I volunteered for a combat tour in Iraq with an Army Special Operations Unit at the height of the Second Gulf War. I was there from 2006 to 2007, maybe about 35 miles away when Saddam Hussein was executed. It was 395 days and over 200 combat missions from when I left my door here in the States before I got home. And then I finished my time teaching at the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis, which was a fantastic job. Great. Homework was a legal order. I taught like 20 kids. It was awesome. Then after my time in the service, it was 8 years. It felt like I had done my time for king and country and pulled the old eject handle and got out. My wife and I moved to Australia for a year because, Why not? It's awesome. And then I got a job here in Florida doing data and financial analytics and helping to manage about 5,000 people all over the world working for a Fortune 500 company. At this time, not into politics at all. In 2016, my wife decided to start getting involved. She canvassed for Hillary Clinton. And we were excited. We thought the country had some momentum, so we had an election night watch party. We were ready to watch the United States. You know where this is going. You know, finally elected its first female president. By 9:30, she had kicked everybody out, and she just looked at me and said, "Fix it." And I was like, "Fix it? Like, what the hell do you want me to do?" I apologize if I swear, I was a sailor for 8 years. I was like, "What the hell do you want me to do? What do you want me to do?" So we started helping some of our local candidates, nothing too deep. Then March of 2018 rolled around, and I started getting phone calls, from people all over Hillsborough County. I'm from Hillsborough County. From people all over Hillsborough saying, "Hey Adam, you need to run for the state house in House District 59. I was like, "I don't even know who my state rep is. Like, what are you talking about? Why do I need to run for the state house?" Turns out, the person who was running, the last time they were in office, they were responsible for banning LGBT pride in Hillsborough County for 8 years. And there were no Democrats running against it. It was an R+9 seat. Do you guys know what that means? No. It means in the prior election, the Republican won by 9%. Nobody thought a Democrat had a chance. So nobody wanted to be like that sacrificial lamb. But my brother-in-law is gay, and he and his husband adopted a baby here in Florida. And it was up to this lady, our family would be illegal. And I thought that was bullshit. So I've never liked bullies. So you know what? Fine, I'll run. We had no help from the state, no help from the county. It was just my wife and I. And by election night, we had flipped the district by 12 points. And I became the first Democrat to represent Eastern Hillsborough County in the Florida legislature in over 20 years. I was really excited when I got to Tallahassee. Who's ever been in Tallahassee during session? Oh, I'm sorry, folks. You know where this is going. I was excited, to have that sense of service again like I did when I was in the Navy. But all I saw when I got there, I'm sure you guys saw it, was just political theater and corruption everywhere I looked. I saw a system that's been mired in one-party rule for over 25 years, and it's driven Florida. We're number 48 in the country when it comes to teacher pay. We're number 48 in the country for teacher pay.
Okay.
It's driven Florida to the bottom, of nearly every meaningful category. Just came out a few months ago. Florida is now the least affordable state in the entire country. I saw a CFO who's been so concerned about kind of chasing after Ron DeSantis and getting a little pat on his head, and bolstering his campaign account with corporate and insurance industry dollars that he's left everybody behind. I don't know about you, besides me, if you own your own, I don't think there's so many renters in here, right? So if you own your own home, who's seen your property insurance rates go up in the past couple of years? Every hand.
2 hands.
2 hands. Make no mistake about it. The current CFO has cost everybody in this room money. It's cost everybody in Sumter County money. It's cost everybody in the state of Florida money. Florida's in a property insurance crisis. It's made national news. We've seen it coming down the pike for about 5 years now. The CFO has done nothing to protect anybody in this room. Nothing. There's even a special legislative session, I think I'd be able to say that word, trying to fix property insurance this May. People were polled across the state, overwhelmingly, something like 89%, which I'm surprised it wasn't higher, said the 2 things they did not want to see were our rates to go up and our coverage to go down. Guess what happened? Our rates went up, our coverage went down, and the legislature gave the insurance industry a $2 billion corporate bailout. Guess who gets to pay for that? Us. We need a change. We need somebody who's not going to just rubber stamp everything the insurance industry wants. We need somebody to represent you in that office. Do we have any retired teachers or firefighters, county workers, state workers in here? Okay, a few. The CFO is also on the State Board of Administration that invests and protects the state pension fund. Do you guys remember, it's about 6 months ago, it's on the news, you might have seen it a little bit, This big country called Russia invaded this smaller country called Ukraine. You guys remember that? The world came down on Russia with economic sanctions. Everybody knew that their economy was going to tank. 25 states had the foresight to divest any pension funds that they had in Russian companies to save that money. Democrats across the state of Florida were begging the State Board Administration and the CFO to divest our funds out of Russia. Now, I don't know the official reason. I really think it's just to be contrarian, because Democrats asked. But the CFO decided to bet on Russia instead of betting on you. And to date, he's lost nearly every penny of the $300 million of your pension fund that was invested in Russian companies. And even worse, since the invasion, he's invested more in Russia. We need somebody who's going to protect the people of Florida. Nobody wants their accountant to be super far right or super far left, right? They just want them to do their job. And the current CFO has failed to do that by putting partisan politics ahead of your wallets. You know, for this particular race, I always like to tell people, don't vote with your heart, don't vote with your party. Well, this group, I want you to vote with your hearts and your party. But don't vote with your heart, don't vote with your party. It's time to vote with your wallet, because he has been costing you money. You know, another thing that the CFO does is they're the state auditor. And let me tell you, you've never seen anybody crawl up some numbers like a nuclear submariner. But if you want to know what's been going on with your tax dollars, you want any checks and balances back in government, then we need to have a Democrat as your chief financial officer of the state of Florida. When it comes down to it, if you really never want to hear the phrase, President Ron DeSantis, then you want a Democrat as your chief financial officer. You need a Democrat as your chief financial officer. And again, thanks for having me again. My name is Adam Hattersley. I'm your Democratic nominee to be the next chief financial officer of the state of Florida. And thank you for letting me talk to you tonight. I'd love to take some questions.
All right,
Yes.
we're going to pass the mic around, so go ahead and use the mic to ask.
And I am much taller on television.
So specifically, what do you plan on doing with respect to insurance? I understand that part of the problem is, in fact, our court systems that awards tremendous awards and says, yes, your house's roof needs to be replaced, etc. Insurance companies still logically need to make money. And in fact, they are costing more in Florida because there is a lot of corruption in Florida that's occurring with respect to fraudulent claims, etc. But the court systems seem to be encouraging that. So how are you going to handle that? I don't think the CFO is in charge of the court system.
So there's actually several things that we can do. First off, the CFO gets to appoint the insurance commissioner. The current insurance commissioner, you would think, would have a background in insurance. The current insurance commissioner has a background in elementary education. He's there to rubber stamp everything that the CFO and the insurance industry wants. You know, when somebody made a really good analogy to me, like if you let a kid out into a candy store and just say, go wild, they're going to eat everything they want until they become sick. Our current insurance industry is sick here in Florida. You know, Florida has, I think the number was 9% of the property insurance claims in the United States, but nearly 80%, it was like 79% of the lawsuits, of the litigation. But the thing is, it's all legal. So we have to work with the legislature. That's what the special legislative session is supposed to fix. But they just put a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. And this is like a 2, 3, 4 year kind of project to fix. Right now we're on day 0. So we need an insurance commissioner who cares about you. We need to actually take a hard look at this non-sexy topic, even in an election year, to put some hard reform in to fix our insurance regulation. We've had, I think, 7 now insurance companies go either insolvent or leave the state of Florida just this year, plus another 17 or so are going to be getting their credit rating downgraded. So that's 24, that's almost half the insurance companies left in the state. And some of those reasons are poor regulation and poor legislative environment for insurance to operate. Because you're right, insurance companies do need to make money. But one of the reasons why they're having some of these issues, they say, well, it's because Florida has hurricanes. Well, we do have hurricanes, but so does Texas, so does Louisiana, so does Alabama, Mississippi, and Georgia, and South Carolina, and North Carolina. We're the only ones having this issue, this major crisis with property insurance. What are other states doing that we are not, that is being successful for them, that's being successful for both consumers and insurance companies? Current CFO won't even have that conversation. So we need to look at what other states have been doing. We need to implement the good policies. And we need to reform some of the bad and corrupt policies that you're talking about. So there's really a lot of things that we can do with property insurance to put people first instead of corporate profits first. You know, Florida's sitting on a $20 billion cash reserve right now, the biggest we've ever had. Most of that excess, by the way, about half of it was Biden bucks, so thanks federal government. But instead of paying teachers more, or instead of doing anything with it, and besides flying migrants from Texas to costing over $12,000 per person, which is absurd, they're doing nothing with it. So I like to talk about insurance, investigations, part of the auditing, and infrastructure. Another one of the reasons insurance companies say that we're not great to do business in is because we have so much coastal infrastructure that is vulnerable to sea level rise and saltwater intrusion. We have $20 billion sitting there doing nothing. Why don't we invest a little bit in coastal resiliency and coastal infrastructure, harden some of those infrastructure points, reduce risk for insurance companies. By reducing risk, we'll attract more insurance companies to come. More competition reduces rates, lower risk reduces rates. It's just going to take an ounce of prevention before the pound of cure and a little bit of investment now. But again, it's not a sexy topic, it's not going to win them any votes, so they don't want to talk about it. Hopefully that answered your question. Got in the weeds a little bit there.
Well, I'm still a little concerned about the legal aspects because I'm not sure what we can do with
Well,
the
again,
court system.
you have to work with the legislature to change the current laws. And the CFO, who should have been at the point of that at the special legislative session, wasn't anywhere to be found. He wasn't involved. So I know, right? So you have to have somebody willing to tackle the problem. Like I said, we're at day 0 of fixing that problem. The day I'm sworn in will be day 1. What else? Yes.
On the same line.
Ash. Wait a minute. And then if you get tired of talking about insurance, you may want to ask about being an NCAA gymnastic champion. Anybody here be a gymnastic champion?
I was a member of the 1999 NCAA National Championship team at the University of Michigan.
And anybody here certified international gymnastic judge?
Yeah, I am that too. Actually, just in July, I was representing the United States in a major competition in Cairo, Egypt. Very cool. Yeah,
right. Here's Jack Marwa, our Florida House candidate for House District 52.
On the same lines, the citizen insurance, which is our insurance, has over 1 million subscribers, and even the Florida Chamber of Commerce is raising alarm bells. What can you do about all those people who are insured by citizens insurance?
So does everybody know what citizens insurance is? So it's the public insurance option. After Hurricane Andrew in 1992, 93, the legislature created the Hurricane Catastrophe Fund and stood up the public insurance company called Citizens Insurance. It's kind of the insurer of last resort. Right now, it's getting close to 1 million policies and is the largest insurer in Florida, which is not what it was designed to do. And the Office of Insurance Regulation just came out with a, by rule, not by legislation, so I'm not sure how fair or how legal this is, that they're going to use Citizens as a backstop in the event of any other private insurance companies go insolvent during a disaster. And the thing with Citizens is that if it's losing capital, if it needs to pay out claims, it can put a levy on every single property owner in the state, regardless of who you have your insurance with. So it's just, by rule, without legislation, the insurance commissioner is putting up the money in your bank account to shore up Citizens insurance right now. So we have to fix, like we were talking about, through legislation, we have to fix a lot of the insurance environment here in Florida to attract more companies to come back so we can get people off of Citizens. It's not an easy or short-term fix. I hate to say it, but there is no light switch that we can flick. You know, like when we passed a constitutional amendment in 2020 saying thou shalt have a minimum wage of $15 an hour by 2026. Light switch, flick, and you're going to see it on October 1st when the minimum wage jumps to $10 an hour here in Florida. Light switch. But there is no light switch for property insurance. It's not an easy problem. And that's why the current CFO is not talking about it, he's not thinking about it, he's not working on it, because it's not an easy problem. So I wish I had a good answer for you, but there's things that we can do, but it will take a lot of time to march down. You know, who remembers the sinkhole insurance problem like 12 years ago? Citizens was in the same situation then, like close to 1 million people were on Citizens. But once the legislature finally did fix some of those loopholes that let people take advantage of the system, Citizens policies started being shed to private insurers again, because the environment became more profitable for them to operate here, and we have to create that again. Charlie Crist was governor when that happened, if I remember correctly, so he has some experience with this.
Is the current CFO your opponent?
Yes.
Oh, what's his name?
Anybody know? Okay, a couple people know. Actually, out of the statewide elected officials, he has the lowest name ID by far, and he is hiding on purpose. And he does these commercials like, I'm going to stop big tech liberals from stealing your data. Literally, that's his latest commercial. Even though he was in a strange, one-sided love affair with Elon Musk trying to get him to bring Twitter to Florida, so it's a little hypocritical. But he doesn't want to talk about property insurance. He doesn't want to talk about the pension fund. He doesn't want to talk about these things that they've bungled and cost you money. So he's hiding. So he's not going to come here to talk to you about property insurance, but he'll talk to you about them liberal elites. And I think he tweeted today something about sanctuary cities don't want to be sanctuary cities anymore, even though the people of Martha's Vineyard like embrace those people with open arms. So I'm not sure what news he's watching, but that's the thing with Republican messaging.
You know what news.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing with Republican messaging. They message to emotion and to fear, and that's why it's so effective. And we can't be afraid to confront that and do, I hate to say it, but do some of the same things. That's why I'm saying Jimmy is costing you money. And we're getting a lot of independent and Republican crossover support because Republicans care about it. Their money. So you're not going to hear Jimmy talk about it. He's going to talk about them big tech liberals trying to do whatever, or some strange thing that he's talking about with the IRS that he has no legal authority to do whatsoever, instead of talking about property insurance. He's going to talk about anything else. What else? Really? 2 questions? No.
You have your own small business?
Well, I used to. COVID killed us. Yeah.
What do you do?
It was had absolutely nothing to do with engineering or the Navy or anything. It was a print promotional stuff, so like those T-shirts that my staff are wearing in the back, and flyers and stuff for trade shows. And you know, like I said, I'm an international judge for men's gymnastics, and I think I'm in the top 20 judges in the entire United States. So we did a lot of like awards and shirts and things for athletic competitions across the state. But when COVID stopped all that, it killed us. So I took that time to write a book, which is out on Amazon now.
About what?
About my successful 2018 election. It's called Accidental Politician. So I'll take off my candidate hat and put on my book plugging hat. Because when I first filed, I don't know about you, but I had no idea what to do. I didn't know how to file, didn't know how to open a bank account, didn't know what canvassing was, didn't know what a forum was, didn't know what what a DEC stood for, nothing. And there was no place to go to find any of this information. What is phone banking? What is fundraising? What is call time? What is canvassing? So I wrote a book about it, using some of the anecdotes and stories that happened during my campaign. It's written for new candidates and anybody interested in getting involved in the political world. Selling tens of copies.
I wanted to share with the audience here. I'm Bob Pine and live in the Villages. I have a home here. I've been here 18 years, and I recently received a letter that my policy was not going to be renewed. So probably
I got that letter 6 weeks ago.
So I wanted to share what I did about it. I mean, we can elect you, but there's other things you could do meanwhile, especially if your policy is due. So what I did was search around a lot. My homeowners was with a major company. It was the so-called HO3 form, which is a very common format. And when I wanted to get it renewed, it was going to be an extra $1,000. So I searched around and found there was another form DP3, a lot more flexible, and it would handle my 18-year-old roof. So I'm just sharing that there is at least one company I've come across, very efficient, that worked out quite well. And so my increase is 11% instead of 40%. So maybe you can comment a couple of things about what people can do even today.
So there are some things. You know, a lot of the insurance companies, again, I got dropped as well. Welcome to hurricane season. About 500,000 Floridians so far have been dropped already this year. But you know, a lot of the insurance companies say, well, we'll renew you if you get a new roof, and that's totally on you. So you know, if you have $22,000, whatever, sitting around to spare doing nothing. But some companies will work with you if you get some minor modifications, you know, like the hurricane straps to improve the structural resiliency of your roof, but not a full new roof.
Right.
So there's some of these kind of tricks, but they're not going to tell you about that. You have to find those out in other ways, because they want to replace your roof, right? You know, so talk to some general contractors, talk to maybe some retired roofing folks. But there are some other methods that you can use to give your roof a little bit more life. You know, because right now it's kind of about 15 years-ish is when insurance companies will start dropping you if you haven't gotten a new roof in 15 years. But again, there are some other tips and tricks that you can find, like some of those corner reinforcements that will give your roof a little bit more extension.
Yeah, the main thing was that right now, most of the policies will cover your roof as a full replacement value. I thought that was always kind of crazy, that your roof is 10 years old out of 15, they're going to give you a brand new roof. That's why the prices are up. So the result is mine is now on a depreciated value. I understand what that is, maybe not everybody does, but it meant $1,000 in my pocket. So it reimburses you for your actual cash value, sort of like that. And they don't drop you. My roof is 18 years old.
But that's shifting some of the risk to you.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well,
and that's where that concession
yes,
comes.
but I want to pay for my depreciated roof, but I don't want to pay $1,000. So sooner or later I'll pay it.
What else? We have another one over here.
But this gets back to the problem with the legal system. That
Yes.
here it appears that the roofing contractors have an ability to get roofs paid for that probably should have just been under normal wear and tear.
That's right.
I know I ultimately will have to replace my roof, but that doesn't mean I should then file a claim as soon as my roof needs replacing so that a roofing contractor come in and say, oh, it was a result of storm X and you guys need to do it, and go to the legal system, and the legal system says, that's what happens here as opposed to every other state.
Yeah,
That's
and
the
again,
problem.
right now, that's legal. And that's why we need somebody who's willing to take that fight on with the legislature to fix that, just like they did with the sinkholes 12 years ago. Right now, all of the bills that have to do with property insurance for about the past 5-6 years have been written by the property insurance lobbyists and the property insurance industry. We need people to get public adjusters and insurance lawyers and consumer advocates involved in this so we can make legislation that's beneficial to both companies to be able to make buck and you, and balance that out so it's not so one-sided, so we can fix what's going on. You know, we shouldn't have 79% of the property insurance litigation in the entire United States concentrated here in Florida. We obviously have a problem. It's obviously rooted in the regulation and legislation that they have to operate by. But again, it's not a sexy topic. They're not interested in a 78 to 42 Republican legislature. They don't see it winning them any votes. So they're not interested in fixing it because it's not affecting them personally. So we just have to get somebody in there who cares, who's on your side. Front row.
I'm Josie. I'm just curious, who can out as your seat in the legislature?
So in the legislature, I was actually recruited to run for U.S. Congress in 2020, but I wasn't going to run unless I could find another Democrat to keep my seat blue. And I did find another Democrat, and he did keep my seat blue. His name is Andrew Learned. He's another Navy veteran. So when I ran for Congress, he ran to replace me in the House, and he did keep my seat blue. So in 2018, I think we flipped 7 seats from red to blue, And then in 2020, we lost almost all of them back, but we kept mine. So mine is still blue.
Yay.
Yay. We'll see after redistricting, and who knows what anything's going to be.
Right.
But
I have another question.
sure.
What's happening with that attorney that DeSantis fired because of his stance on abortion?
So you're talking about Andrew Warren,
Yeah.
who's the state attorney in Hillsborough County. I'm good friends with Andrew. Who's seen that movie Minority Report? You guys remember that? Where they have like the future crime division and they have the people who can see the future and they arrest you before you commit a crime? That's what happened. It'd be like if there was a cop right here, I'm like, hey, I'm going to run red lights on my way home. I'm going to tell him that. But if I haven't done anything yet, he can't arrest me. Well, Ron DeSantis just arrested Andrew Warren for telling him he's going to run a red light. There have been 0 cases come before him about reproductive freedom. There have been 0 cases come before him about any of these things that he said I'm not going to prosecute. But he was removed anyway for a crime he has not committed. And even though there have been Republican sheriffs and Republican state's attorney here in Florida said, I'm not going to enforce a gun ban, even though we don't have one. I'm not going to enforce whatever. They still have their jobs. This was absolutely a political hit job. Andrew Warren has been a vocal thorn in Ron DeSantis' side. He was twice elected in Hillsborough County, by the way, by a very good margin. And so he was removed for something that he hasn't done yet, violating the First Amendment of free speech. Not to mention the state's attorneys, their job is to decide what to prosecute and what not to prosecute. It's part of their job. So he fired him for doing part of his job. Then he replaced Andrew Warren with somebody from the Federalist Society, who's about as far right as you can get in a D+10 county. So that really represents the people. But yeah, so it was absurd. It's in the courts, I believe, right now. I mean, Andrew Warren is right. But an anonymous member of the legislature here in Florida even had a comment, it was in the press, said, no, Ron DeSantis is the legislature, is the Senate, and is the Supreme Court. He's appointed so many judges, and they're so afraid of him. Look at what he did at Disney for daring to have an opinion, which again is not very American, nor is it very conservative to come down on a business for what they want to do. I'm not sure why they call themselves conservatives anymore, because they haven't been conservative. But they've created this environment, like I said, of fear, which again is very un-American for political fear. And we're not sure, even though we know he's right. We know Andrew Warren's right. I don't know how the courts are gonna find, because of who appointed them and because of the current environment here in Florida. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen too. I know what's right, but I don't know what's going to happen. Yeah.
We have to do, I don't know.
The only way to fix this,
Get out in the street.
the only way to fix this is on November 8th. The only way is to kick them out of power.
Yes.
Republicans have been in control in Tallahassee for 25 years, and this is where we're at. Again, the least affordable state in the country, 48th in teacher pay, one of the least affordable for auto insurance, least affordable for housing, health care.
Education.
This is where they've dropped us. Yeah, we're near the bottom, and I think we're 43rd, 44th in per student funding. They've driven us to the bottom in almost every meaningful category. And they keep these culture wars. Who remembers? I mentioned Disney, right? When they attacked Disney, that was also during a special legislative session. Do you know what that special what else they did during that special legislative session while everybody was focused on Disney? They redrew the congressional lines, gerrymandered the crap out of a 50-50 state and made it 20-8 Republican in the U.S. House and eliminated 2 minority access seats. But nobody noticed because Disney.
Disney must
Like-
have some clout.
Well, they dared have an opinion. But you see a lot of these things. They don't want to talk about proper insurance, so they're going to talk about CRT, which is not even in the schools. I remember when I was in the legislature, they banned sanctuary cities for immigration, even though we don't have and have never had a sanctuary city in Florida. but it turned into the big fight of 2019, and it's all everybody talked about. You know, 2021, you know, same stuff. Dude, who knows? The Republicans added $1 billion online sales tax to you in 2021. The Republicans did that. Not very conservative, new taxes. Go ahead.
I just had a comment to make. Several years ago, we were rated #1 in corruption in the state of Florida. Are we still there, or are we even higher?
You know, I have not seen any updated rankings, so I can't answer that question. But if you just see what's been going on, it's not surprising to me that we were officially ranked there.
I take great offense at hearing that Florida is #1 in corruption. I'm from Maryland. Ted Agnew, William Donald Schaefer. If we're not #1, and Jacqueline and I are from Baltimore, we're certainly #1 in terms of murder rates.
Oh, snap.
So,
my wife's from New Jersey. She might, I don't know, like, you know,
I'm getting ready. Now listen, like, in Maryland, we've tried a lot of things. There was a big deal about plaintiffs' lawyers and getting big plaintiff verdicts. So, especially in medical malpractice cases, so the doctors formed their own insurance company, MedCop, went broke. We have public service commissions, and the insurance companies go to them and say, we want a 25 to 30% hike from a public service commission, and it gets approved. It seems to me, looking back on one thing about an issue that I don't know about, but it seems to me, whereas in Medicare they're running a 2% overhead rate, and in private insurance they're running a 28 to 30% over rate. Tell me why we want to, as you said, why do we want these insurance companies to make a buck? They're making too many. It seems to me either they're making too much bucks or else they're out of business. So, what can you be specific about what you're thinking would solve the problem?
Well, again, we need to tighten up our legislation to stop what's going on with the additional litigation that we're seeing.
What's the litigation that you're seeing?
So, like I said, we have about 9% of the property insurance claims in the United States, but close to 79% of the litigation when it comes to property insurance. So, a lot of the roofing companies, and this is not the only reason why property insurance is going crazy in Florida, but it is one of the reasons. Roofing companies will come up, and has anybody got a knock on their door? Hey, we can get you a new roof for free.
Right.
So they'll have somebody go up on your roof, and you don't know what's going on. They come down there like, yep, looks like there's some storm damage. Who's your property insurance company? Sign this form. I'll get this all sorted out for you. And then they charge the insurance company however much money. And the insurance company probably, they say, that's too much. We're going to send an adjuster. You charge us $40,000. Our adjuster says this roof should be only $15,000 claim. Not to mention, we don't think that it was due to storms, so it should be like a $6,000 claim just to fix this or whatever. So now it becomes this legal fight. I talked to a public adjuster in the Tampa area. One of his clients, for a $25,000 roof claim, was in litigation for 4.5 years, and the litigation costs were over $750,000. And it's all legal based on our current code. So insurance companies use this tactic. It's called delay, deny, defend. So by delay, they'll send a property adjuster out to do an adjustment or to do an assessment of your roof. Then a week or two later, you'll be like, hey, where's my, you'll call them up, where's my estimate? Oh, we reassigned your adjuster. So you have to start over. The same guy who was telling me about his $750,000 in litigation, he said the worst one he had seen, the public adjuster had been reassigned 16 times. So they delay. They deny, and they say, okay, this claim, the adjuster says it should be $26,000. Nope, we're not going to pay that. We're going to give you $4,000. Okay, the adjuster still says it should be $26,000. Nope, we're going to give you, $5,000, whatever. Then they'll take you to court. This can take years. We were up in Panhandle. I was speaking with an old elderly couple. Their house was completely destroyed by Hurricane Michael. The property insurance company offered them $12,000. They were, for the entire house, they were in court for 4 years, just under 4 years, because we're coming up on the 4-year anniversary. This was only resolved about 2 months ago. And finally, the insurance company gave them the full $317,000 dollar value of their home. But what they're hoping is people get fed up. I just want to move on with my life. It's been 2 years, it's been 3 years, it's been 4 years. Fine, I'll take your $12,000. I'm going to leave. But it's all legal. There's no time frame saying, thou shalt finish this claim by X, thou shalt, whatever litigation, into mediation by that. So we have to address this by legislation, like we did with the sinkholes in 2010, or whatever year that was. We just have to have somebody with the drive to tackle this problem.
Okay.
Yeah, but how do you stop these people from knocking on the door and people getting rooms that they don't need?
We have to change the law.
Yeah, repeat the question if you would.
It was, how do you stop people from knocking on your door and just saying, I'll get you a free roof? Because we have to change the law that allows that. We have to find out what's best for consumers and still gives a good environment for property insurance companies so we can all live together and our houses can be insured and they will be able to operate here. But there are some of these loopholes that allows people to take advantage. And don't get me wrong, there's plenty of roofing companies that are great at what they do and they protect you and they do their best to make sure that they provide an amazing service. It's the vast majority. A lot of legislation we do is for a small amount of bad actors. It's like, the one rotten apple ruins the barrel kind of thing. The majority of roofing contractors, the majority of these emergency and restorative services that come out after storms are doing the right thing. But there are some people taking advantage. And do keep in mind, a lot of these investigations for insurance fraud, in the past 5 years, there's been about 1,800 of them from the CFO's office. There have only been about 14 prosecutions by now. But out of those 1,800, every single one was given to them by what's called the SIU, Special Investigating Unit, from an insurance company. Every single one was a fraud claim on a consumer, not a single problem with any insurance company. Nobody's looking out for us. Yes, also in row 1. Right here.
Just to give it a little levity.
You gotta put it up by your mouth. You have to hold it to your mouth.
Yelling to it.
Just to give it a little levity, because it gets so heavy, weight all these things. But talk about corruption. I'm from Chicago, and we all know about the Goya Rich who was pardoned, going in to prison. They had a whole wing reserved for the politicians in Illinois and Chicago, but for trying to sell his Senate seat. So it's so prevalent corruption that when you say it's worse here in Florida,
Well, he said it was the worst, didn't he?
it's hard for us to believe that, because Chicago and Illinois is like their middle name, and it's a sad statement about society when we accept it. We accept it and compare it. Oh, my state's worse. My state. It's sad, but it's true. I mean, look at the records. But thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, who's seen in the news the ghost candidate scandal? Okay, a lot of people seen it.
Oh, that happened here.
Yeah, so in 2020, and I think it's 3 state Senate seats, they're investigating and one specifically where a third-party candidate was paid to be on the ballot. And in one of these districts where there was a ghost candidate, had the same last name as the incumbent Democratic senator and a similar first name, who siphoned off about 5,000 votes, and the Republican won by less than 40 votes. It was like 32 votes. They stole between 1 and 3 Senate seats here in Florida.
That's not stealing, that's just playing the game.
Well, paying a candidate to be on the ballot is illegal.
I get it, but still, let's start playing hardball.
What else? Row 1, 2, 3, 4.
Aren't the public employees, the teachers, the firefighters, totally up in arms about their pensions? The pension fund that's been wasted?
Do you know what they're all talking about?
No. I would think that
There's
would be
50
number
migrants who
one.
were flown from Texas to Martha's Vineyard yesterday. Nobody's paying attention. And that's one of the problems. I mean, I said it before, when I first got involved in politics, I didn't even know who my state rep was, besides you. Who knows who your state rep is?
Yeah, we know.
You guys know? Well, I mean, this is the DEC. I hope you guys know.
Yeah.
But I had no idea. Go out in town, and people who aren't part of a political club or political group, ask anybody, who's your state rep? Nobody, 99 out of 100 won't know. Ask them, who's the CFO? Nobody's going to know. It's because we're an uneducated electorate. You know, we don't know because these flashy, sexy things we see coming out of DC grab our attention. Everybody knows like the 5 crazy congressmen on the right. Everybody knows the 5 crazy congressmen on the left. Nobody knows the other 425 who are trying to do what's right. And nobody, and that's like sexy because it's not coming out of DC, it's on TV. But the stuff that happens in your state legislature, in your county commission, with your state, your cabinet, affects you far more than any of that. We just have to get people interested into something more than an outlandish soundbite, which that may have been an outlandish soundbite right there. Well, maybe that's about
Can't you pick up and advertise on that? Like, do you know what happened to your pension fund and who was
well, we're
responsible?
trying. See, these races, I need to get about 4.2 million people to vote for me in November, and Florida is a massive state.
Yes.
We've been in the car already, what, 7 hours today, 8 hours today? We still have 2 hours drive home. I'm sure you guys have heard this part before. You can all go out, take out your phones. Adam4Florida.com. There's a big yellow donate button. Right now, I'm being outspent close to 50 to 1.
There's a QR code.
There's a QR code on our flyers and my cards.
And an
But
envelope if you have your checkbook.
the more money we're able to raise, the wider we can get this message out. They are costing you money. You know, that's the message, that simple message. Jimmy, it's costing you money. But unless we are able to get the campaign contributions that we need to get that message out, nobody's going to know. I know I'm on the right side of these issues. Even talking to Republicans, they know I'm on the right side of these issues. But unless we can get this message out, it's not going to matter. You know? And being with statewide candidate, I get the state matching program. Sorry, you don't. Just the 4 of us. The governor, the CFO, the attorney general, and the ag commissioner. It means for the first $250 that we get from each individual Floridian is matched 1-to-1 by the state. And for our first like $250,000 or so, it's matched 2-to-1. So like if you donated $250, the state would give me another $500. So there's what, 40 people in here, 30 people in here? That's a lot of money, I'm just saying. But that's how we get that message out, just like any campaign. We need that help to be able to get on TV, to be able to get on your Facebook and your Snapchats if you guys are on there, or your TikToks or your YouTubes or your Instagrams. And we just started the other day a flight of digital ads targeted towards independents. About 700,000 independents all across the state. It's only going to be up for 8 days, and it's $25,000. So it costs about 40 grand to film a solid TV commercial, and then there's 5 major media markets in Florida, some of which are some of the most expensive in the country. So if I had, this is going to sound crazy, if I had about $2.2 million, we could be competitive there. My opponent right now, between his political committee and his campaign, has about $5 million. Not to mention the $140 million that Ron DeSantis has. That's what we're up against. That's what we're up against. We know we're right on these issues.
We must have some rich Democrats out there.
There are some, but you know, my name's not Val Deming, so they're not giving to me. No, but there are, and we are talking to them, you know, in our political committee. We are starting to make some traction. But we need more than 1 or 2. We need more than 5 or 6. And we need more grassroots, because that shows support from the local voters to get out there, that they support us financially, that they're going to knock on doors for us.
All right. He said he's got a 2-hour drive, been on the road for quite a while. So I'd like to thank you again for stopping by. We have Leah Schwarting from the Daily Sun, and we'd like to present you with our Build Back blue and 22 t-shirt.
Oh, thank you.
And
The right
if you
size?
need a different size, we have those also.
Yeah,
We also have a coffee cup. We won't give you this one, but we'll give you one in a protected carrier.
Thank you so much. That's very sweet of you.
And so if you'd spend a few minutes and just mingle, and if anybody was afraid to ask a question in public.
One more question. What was your website, Adam, that we can go on and donate for?
It's
Yeah.
Adam4Florida.com. And do let me say, how pissed off are the women of Florida? Okay. We saw what happened in Kansas. We saw what happened in that special election in New York. We saw what happened in Alaska, of all places.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what's happening with the voters in Florida right now.
Yeah.
This race is absolutely winnable. All of these races are absolutely winnable. Women have been registering to vote at a rate 3.6% greater than men here in Florida, and about 3.5% greater than they ever have before. Women can absolutely win this election for Democrats. I mean, you should be pissed off. I'm pissed off. Vote like you're pissed off. Don't forget for the next 52 days, and when you get your ballot, and when you get there on November 8th, or if you vote by mail, or you vote early, vote pissed off. Because women can and will win these elections for us. They are afraid of those letters, W-O-M-E-N. The Republicans are terrified. They've scrubbed all of their talking points, scrubbed all their websites. They are not talking about Roe or about reproductive rights or reproductive freedom, because they know it's such a loser for them, and it's a winner for us. They are terrified. Women can and will win this.
So we have a very proud history of voting here in Sumter County. In the recent primary, we led the state with a 50% turnout. Oh, wow. In 2020, we had 9 of our 26 precincts with a turnout of over 90%. Our county-wide turnout was 86+%, and in 18 we were about 78%. Eric Lipsis keeps telling me our goal is 90% here in an off-year election, so that's our moonshot. So anyway, you are talking to a committed group of voters here.
And that, you know, I keep like going into this, even though we should be on the road right now. I've been to, I think, 53 counties now out of 67. Even starting when I kicked this campaign off in March. I've seen groups like this. You're in the, how many people were at the Villages, what was that, a month ago when I was there?
225.
225 people, 3 months before an election in the Villages for a Democratic club. People are ready to work. They're ready to get out there and knock doors. They're ready to get out there and vote. They're ready to stay pissed off. They're ready to vote like, and it sounds cliche, but like their lives, like their future, like our democracy depends on it, because it does. This election, it absolutely does.
Yeah.
You know, my wife, what's she calling it? Rovember. Get out to vote in Rovember. You know, she's trying to start with the Democratic Women's Club of Florida. Do we have anybody in the Democratic Women's Club of Florida? Yeah, she's talking with Monica Ritas to start, you know, everyone's heard of Souls to the Polls, right? Sunday, the Sunday before Election Day. Women to the polls on Saturday before the Election Day. Women should be pissed off. Men should be pissed off. Everybody should be pissed off. Vote like you're pissed off. Stay pissed off for the next 52 days. And we'll see you on November 9th. Our victory tour.